What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're jumping into the Ultra League with what I was hoping, at least at first, would be a non-XL team focused around Cobalion. I think that it's one of the more dominant Pokemon now that Poliwrath is not really in the meta as much, as it does very well and can even beat Feraligatr in even shield situations. However, as I was going through PvPoke, I found very quickly that the Ultra League has been stuffed with so many XLs, I almost forgot that there are Pokemon here that exist that aren't XLs. So I tried to make a triple non-XL team because I know accessibility is a major issue. But when I'm looking through PvPoke and I'm trying to make a cohesive team, I sometimes just have to stop and think, I'm all right, well, some XLs some people might have, right? So Weezing is a XL Pokemon that you can just build any raid IV. As you can see, mine is not amazing. It's not a rank 1. It's just lucky IVs, and it happens to be good enough. We're going to put that with the Weezing because Weezing is one of those fairies that beats other fairies and also has good play into a lot of things, especially with the new energy generation of Brutal Swing, or energy cost of Brutal Swing. But I also wanted to try out my Miltank because I think it's a good core breaker. I was kind of expecting to see a lot of Feraligatrs, so having a team that had two very good neutral answers into it, as well as also having something in the back that was fairly decent into it, was a good start. So we played this team, went 8-2, and I'm going to share the battles with you guys if you're still here. Thank you. As I sometimes get a little long-winded in my intros. But in the first game here, we pick up a lead against an Ampharos, and I'm not really sure what to do here, right? Like most teams, you should almost just assume that there's probably going to be a Feraligatr in the back, right? It's just normal to assume this. So I'm going to build up to a nuke move here, and I'm going to go for the Brutal Swing bait, hopefully get a shield from the opponent. Thankfully, we do. Now I'm going to immediately pivot into my Miltank here and just see what we can get done. The opponent has built up to what could be a Focus Blast. I'm going to respect it. And they throw the Thunder Punch here, so this also doesn't really tell me much, but then they hit me with, like, the one thing that walls my Miltank aside from another, like, Cobalion or Steel type. Also, to be completely frank with you guys, Cobalion cores very well with most things that are good against Fighting and Fairy, right? So a Poison type in general would probably suit well here, like maybe Tentacruel if you wanted. Miltank also not a necessary Pokemon. I just wanted to test it out because I think it's a really good core breaker in the current meta with that access to Ice Beam and Rollout. Now, my thing here is that if I've baited out the Skeledirge, great. If I've also baited out something else that can hard wall my Cobalion, I'm in a good spot here. So even though the Skeledirge is able to take a slow, because they're forced to go for those less heavy-hitting disarming voices, we're going to be able to get them pretty low, even with resisted ice beams. The rollouts do chunk quite a bit, and we also leave with shield advantage. I'm going to get into my Cobalion here, and it's going to come down to whatever the opponent has in the back. Once again, they could be at a Focus Blast. They haven't shown me their other move, so I'm going to go ahead and respect it. Now, the opponent's going to come in with the Shadow Feraligatr that is always lurking in the back in the Ultra League. And I tried more to find teams that can beat it more than I wanted to try to find teams that use it, because it seems like one of those things that's just such a focal point of the meta. It seems very difficult to really properly want to use it because it gets countered by so many things. So we're going to be able to get into the Sacred Sword here and almost KO the Feraligatr, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap to catch a move, because what I really need to do here is I need to be able to get to a move, and I'm hoping that the opponent didn't have the energy for it. They did not. They had the Volt Switch go through. That means we're going to be able to take them out with a Sacred Sword here, and one double kick is going to knock out the Gator. That's a good first game. So Miltank substitutions, right? Those can be really anything that is a fighting lure, right? Kind of like how we used to use Greedent, right? You just want a bulky-ish generalist that can do well into some of the things that Weezing does not do well into, really, and just trying to bait out those hard answers to Cobalion being something like Virizion. Or you won't really bait out a Giratina, but because the opponent sees Weezing on the lead, a lot of the times what will end up happening is they'll end up swapping in, you know, something that doesn't want to see Weezing, and sometimes it's good. Now, we catch a Shadow Ball here. Finally, I remembered the counts for my Astonishes, because I've been playing Drifblim a little bit more lately because it's gotten so much better. Now, unfortunately, in the Ultra League, the Body Slam nerf really starts to show up. The body slams do hardly any damage that's noticeable, and the opponent is able to get to another Hydro Cannon. Now, because of the Shadow Ball damage we took earlier, I can't just tank 2 Shadow Hydro Cannons, whereas if I had not taken that Shadow Ball damage, I would be able to take a second Hydro Cannon pretty safely here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get more body slams off here and see if we can either pressure shields or we can maintain switch advantage here, because I cannot let Cobalion get stuck up against the opponent's Drifblim unless they are down to 0 shields and I can land a Stone Edge. The opponent brings in their Weezing here, and I'm very content to just let my Miltank handle this as much as it can. Just get as many body slams off in the time that we've got left, because hopefully the opponent will throw at some point, and they do, but they're already low enough. My resisted moveset on my Weezing is fine. I'm actually going to bring in my Cobalion here, but actually, hold on, actually, we do survive on 1 HP Miltank. Absolutely bulky little monster here. And mine are not rank 1 IVs. There's probably better IVs, but it's kind of ish close. It's like top like 10% kind of thing, and I'm fine enough with that. I'm just going to bring in Cobalion, and the opponent's going to go ahead and bring in their Drifblim, and since I'm so close to 2 moves here, I can go for the Brutal Swings, be able to get the KO on the Drifblim, and honestly, their Weezing's so low that even the double kicks from my Cobalion could take it out. So this game is just going to be basically overwhelm the opponent with the fast move damage and get rid of this Drifblim, and that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to go for the back-to-back Brutal Swings here, just so that I can for sure not worry about any fast moves or charge moves or anything else. I don't need this, but I would much rather not leave things to chance, if you know what I mean. So we're going to Brutal Swing down their Weezing, and that's going to take this game as well. Good game to the opponent. Rolling into the next game, we have a Dragonite. Dominatingly good lead here as we're going to stay in. The opponent looks like they lagged a little bit, not sure what to do, but we're going to swap into the Miltank here. We cannot put Cobalion on this. Weezing not going to really have a good time against it either, but the rollouts being double super effective makes this an extremely positive matchup for the Miltank. We can go for 3 rollouts, as that's going to be 9 total turns consumed by fast moves. Into the 2 Incinerates, that'll be 10 turns, so that's the ideal time to throw that energy. And because the opponent throws here, I know they're going to need 2 more Incinerates to get to their next move, so I'm actually going to shield and fully farm them down here and have that much energy left on a Miltank. The opponent doesn't have anything to wall it. They come in with a Giratina Altered, which is a great substitution on this team, honestly, for Weezing, if you can find a way around the fairies. Maybe if you, for example, wanted to run Metal Claw on the Cobalion, right? So we're still getting to moves here. I know I'm not going to get to this Ice Beam, so I'm just going to throw a cheeky Body Slam and see if the opponent's paying attention, or if they want to shield us, that'd be kind of great. But nope, they actually let it go. Very well done by the opponent by the counts, but I am just going to be able to come in with Cobalion here. 1, they have Dragon Breath, and 2, because they have an ABA Dragon strategy, Weezing just wins this game, and they know it, so that's a good game. We're getting into the next game with an Abomasnow, something I'm not used to seeing on the lead or at all in the Ultra League anymore. It's been a while, but the opponent has a Tentacruel in the back, and I'm going to go for the Body Slam. Now, just something to take note of if you do end up playing the Miltank here. And Licky Licky, by the way, is also another fine addition to your roster at this point in the season. If you were playing a non-poison in the lead, maybe you had, like, just a regular fairy, I would say that even Drapion might be worth maybe throwing in the back if you've got one. Just trying to think of things that you can put in place of this Miltank, because while it is very good, I do also recognize that not a ton of people are probably going to have a Miltank, and it's very hard to find things that do what Miltank does, unfortunately. So we're going to be able to keep just spamming out the Body Slams, and because I have no way of really farming down this Tentacruel, I'm going to commit my first shield here, and of course get the attack drop in order to be able to get this thing out of here. Hopefully I have enough HP left to get to these Body Slams. The opponent actually letting that go, getting me a ton more energy and also switch advantage, which is very nice here, because if I can put my Cobalion against that Abomasnow, I am in a good position to win this game, because we just completely wall all of their energy here. Now, because I know I'm only getting to 1 more move, I'm going to go for that Ice Beam that's just slightly harder hitting than the Body Slam, and that's going to bring them down to about half HP. 2 shields will not save this Abomasnow. They will have to be able to beat me with whatever their third Pokemon is, so we're going to have to see what it is, and it's a Hippowdon. And I'm like, of all the things that could be sitting in the back, it's the Hippowdon. So, yeah, this is going to be a tough endgame. I was very confident that getting Switch Advantage was going to win me the game, but people are indeed running ground types here in the Ultra League, which I think is awesome. I like the spice this opponent has brought so far, where they've got a Shadow Hippowdon that is going to eviscerate my team here at this point. I have no... I mean, I basically have to time my everything perfectly, and so... we're just going to try to go for 2 Brutal Swings. I realize I'm not getting to 2. I needed to get to 2 Brutal Swings here to force the final shield off my opponent and get some damage in, because as you're going to see, because they were able to get that farm, I just need one more move. One more move. The opponent is throwing a move. They go with the Scorching Sands. I have some hope that I'm going to be able to win here. The opponent comes in with the Abomasnow, and I don't know. I don't remember how much damage that Energy Ball did, so I'm throwing. I'm like, they just threw a Scorching Sands. Surely I can get one more double kick. But they're going to be able to get the move. Now, if this is a Rock Weather Ball, we win the game. If this is the Scorching Sands, which it is, we take a loss. And although it was very close, that's going to unfortunately unravel the 5-0, and it becomes a 4-1. Or 3-1, I forgot. There's still another game in the set, so hold on a minute. Here we go. The opponent comes in with Feraligatr. They have the Giratina on the lead, so I have two very dominant answers into this. But Cobalion is not something that I would really want to bring in here, so I'm going to come in with Miltank after getting a shield off the opponent. Now, if you're in Feraligatr, I mean, Shadow Feraligatr, unfortunately, its HP pool is honestly its most limiting resource, so it's going to have a bad time if you give it chip damage, and then you could probably just farm it down. Like, there's a bunch of things that unfortunately just happen with Feraligatr, but I'm going to shield one time because the opponent decided they wanted to shield once. I need to get Switch Advantage here at this point because of the fact that they have the Giratina. The opponent, however, gives up Switch Advantage, and I'm going to go ahead and farm up a bunch of extra energy and then just bring my Weezing back in. If I can keep Cobalion away from this Giratina, which the opponent is now basically giving me a free way to do, I'm very happy with just letting this, letting my Weezing go here. The opponent gets a boost, which, of course, I wish I could get boosts off Ancient Powers. I don't think I've gotten a single boost off any of these moves lately. Play Rough is going to knock out here. The opponent has a Virizion in the back, so my Cobalion is in shambles, but the opponent decides to concede without bothering to play it out, which I think they had a chance if they had just kind of committed to trying it out. But we're going to take a 4-1 set here and get into the next one. And we see some more spice, and this is deliberately built spice. This isn't just I'm playing with what I have. This is somebody who said, I have a Hundo Hisuian Electrode, and I'm going to use it. And honestly, this thing is a little scary. I don't really have a solid way to deal with this, and the Wild Charge is hurt, and the opponent brings in a Flygon. This is going to be tough. I don't know what I'm going to do about that Electrode yet. I'm just kind of hoping that my bulky picks can deal with it, and I'm going to be able to throw 2 moves at this Flygon. And in hindsight, yes, it would have been better for me to bait twice and then go for Play Rough, but I didn't think about that at the time. I'm thinking, okay, I got both shields. How much of a better position can I possibly be in here? So we're going to go ahead and bring in the Miltank to go for this Ice Beam, but the opponent's able to get to 2 charge moves before I'm able to get to this Ice Beam. And now, by now, the switch clock has come up for them. So here, they're going to swap in to catch the move. Very nice swap by this opponent, but the Ice Beam is still going to do super effective damage to this Grass-type Pokemon. So now I'm going to try and go for another move, but the opponent does get to their next move. So I'm just going to go ahead and shield this up. I want to keep my Miltank alive. I need it to deal with the... I need to deal with the Flygon in the back, first of all. But the opponent now is going to go for move. I'm like, okay. All of my Pokemon are kind of low. Cobalion doesn't really seem like I need to worry about it because I have energy on everything. So, well, except for my Weezing. I don't have any energy on the Weezing, which probably would be to my benefit if I did. And then the opponent comes in with a Golurk. And at this point, all hope is fading from my eyes. They have shields. They can farm me down with everything. And this is kind of where it really hits me. This team is ABA weak to ground types. The opponent makes an incredibly good catch here on the Flygon. I was really hoping I was going to be able to get it, maybe even get it undercharge and farm down. But unfortunately for me, all I'm going to be able to do is Soar Body Slam and hope, but I'm not even getting to a Brutal Swing on my Weezing. So unfortunately for me, the opponent made a very good team comp. Even though the whole thing is incredibly weak to Ice, they're just banking on not seeing a lot of Ice-type damage, which... I mean, honestly, fair, because there really isn't a whole ton of Ice damage sources in this meta, so good game, well played. Respect the spice. All right, Weezing into Roserade. This could be okay for us, depending on if this opponent is running Bullet Seed, but they're actually running Razor Leaf. So this is going to tell me that I can just stay here and pressure a shield if I want, because I get to 2 Brutal Swings before the opponent gets to their first move here, or at least I get to the second one as they get to the first move. So this is a Weather Ball. It's 9 Razor Leafs to the first move, Weather Ball, and that means I'm going to be able to go for these Brutal Swings. I'm gonna need to swap out here regardless of if they shield. I was kind of hoping I'd get a shield, but the opponent comes with a Typhlosion, and at this point, I'm really not sure what to expect him back. If it's double fire, I could be in major trouble. So the opponent's shielding up the Typhlosion here, so this is going to be them on their 3rd Incinerate. And for some reason, I'm just very terrible at counting moves anymore. So I shield just in case they go for the cheeky Blast Burn, and I know that the opponent has to go for 2 more in order to get back up to the Blast Burn. So I am going to go for more rollouts, and if they were to throw right away there, I would have been fine. Now, this could be a Thunder Punch. It could be a Blast Burn. I'm going to go ahead and just let it go. The opponent throws the Overheat and then snipes me with their Roserade. Now, this trainer probably has Overheat because they don't have the Elite TM to put Blast Burn on, and Overheat's about as close to Blast Burn as you can get. So, in this case, my Cobalion is hopefully going to be able to do some work here. We're going to go for the Sacred Sword. That's going to take out the opponent, and the Excadrill is going to come in. And Excadrill Mud Slap, again, core breaking my face off here. But thankfully, the opponent decides not to shield. Now, I think that we were going to be fine here. I try to catch. We would have probably gotten to 2 Sacred Swords. I don't know the counts for Mud Slap on Excadrill yet, but we take the game, thankfully. Well played. We see a problem on the lead here in the first game, or in the next game. This is not the first. This is far from the first game. We're going to come in with a Miltank here because even if they're running Powder Snow, I'm hoping that they will try to swap out in order to maintain the Sandslash on Weezing matchup, and they actually bring in a Feraligatr. So again, they're just the Miltank. Maybe he's core broken this trainer's team, and they don't have a good response, but they feel like they have to swap out in order to capitalize on the alignment of Weezing into the Alolan Sandslash, which is a very, very good plan, honestly, to make. But fortunately for me, the amount of energy that they've given me and the fact that they've come in with a Shadow Feraligatr means that I can pretty easily go for switch advantage here because I have so much energy. The Body Slams are coming out left and right here. If they shield here, they're going to be in trouble. I do get the farm down because they needed a Shadow Claw to get to the next move. And now the Alolan Sandslash comes back in, and I am here. I have only showed Body Slam so far. Even if I have Thunderbolt, they're probably not shielding. Excuse me, but we're going to go for as many Body Slams as possible, and I'm just going to lock Cobalion onto this thing. If the opponent decides not to shield anything and try to fully farm down, they're going to be in a bad way here because that would allow me to get at least 2 more Body Slams off if they try to fully farm down. Like, this is too much for Miltank to get farmed down. So I'm able to put my Cobalion on this thing, and switch advantage proves to be everything as the opponent comes in with a Giratina altered. This is a very dominant matchup for my Weezing, especially with that little buff to the Fairy Wind. I'm doing slightly more now this season with 1 extra damage. I'm going to make sure that before I throw my moves, I'm going to max out on energy so that if the Alolan Sandslash at some point decides to come back in, I will be able to throw a Brutal Swing at it, wait out the rest of my switch timer, and then farm it down with Cobalion because that's basically at the HP range it's at right now. So I'm just going to throw straight player ups here. I don't feel like I need to bait the opponent. Going to let that one go, maybe trying to leave that shield, maybe calling the Brutal Swing, but at this point, the opponent has let themselves get so low, I'm just going to be able to come in with my Cobalion and win this game. The opponent does concede knowing it, and that's a good game. Getting into our next battle, we got Weezing on the lead versus Skeledirge. Watch this. This is actually an insane matchup. The opponent has the Skeledirge. They're going for their 3 Incinerates. I'm going to be able to fire off Brutal Swing. Now, previously, Brutal Swing was 5 to the first, 4 to the second, but did a little bit more damage. So you could cleanly 2-shot a Skeledirge with the old Brutal Swing, but the pacing was slightly worse. Now, we just go for 2, and then the move, 2, and then the move, 2, and then the move, because this is just constantly flurrying out Brutal Swing damage. We're going to be able to get to another Brutal Swing here and get the second shield off this trainer unless they decide to let this go. Now, at this point, they're also going to be at a Shadow Ball very shortly here, so I actually think they were at it there. I'm going to swap out and try and get the rollout snipe down, but unfortunately for me, the opponent goes for the Disarming Voice, and we don't get the Shadow Ball catch. And then they've got Cobalion, and I find out how horribly walled Miltank is. But thanks to that catch, the switch clock is already over halfway gone. And if I can live a Sacred Sword, we see MP tie here, I'll be able to wait out the rest of the switch timer and bring in my Weezing to start doing some work into this Cobalion. And it's all because of the desync switch timer and the lower switch timer that I'm able to do this. If the switch timer was back normal, I still would have had another 10 seconds that I would have had to stay in that matchup. So now it allows me the chance to be able to come in. The opponent tries to come in with their Skeledirge for some reason. I don't think there were any debuffs in play, but maybe they were just trying to catch a move. Maybe they thought I had a move. So we're going to go for play rough here, and I'm fine, like, with this. I'm totally fine with this. The opponent does get a Sacred Sword bait on my Weezing, which is really painful, by the way. And then they get the farm down, which is also really, really painful. So I'm waiting up my switch timer. I'm going to do my best to try to catch a Sacred Sword on the opponent, or on my Miltank at this point, because I think that it's just too low to be able to have any more use. And thankfully, we're able to make a really nice catch. And it's going to come down to what's in the back. The opponent is going to have a Feraligatr in the back, and it's a non-shadow Feraligatr. So from my experience, as I've not played the Cobalion and a Feraligatr matchup until literally the games for this video, I figure, okay, this is going to require me to go for a Stone Edge, and then I just need to be able to make sure I get to the Sacred Sword before the opponent does. And so I'm going to throw before I know they can get to another Hydro Cannon. I don't know exactly how much energy they had. I don't think I was counting necessarily. But we're able to get the KO with that Stone Edge, and then we're getting to the Sacred Sword because of the nice overfarm that we had on that for Alligator. We're able to outpace just barely enough and take the KO for this and win the game. And as soon as the game lets us, dude, I lost 2 games yesterday to lag. It was terrible. So now every time the game hangs up even a little bit, I'm just like, oh great, am I going to lose my game? And we have something that is no longer a threat in the Ultra League meta anymore with counter Poliwrath coming in. I'm going to go for 8 and then the move because they're going to go for Skull. And I honestly thought for some reason that, I don't know why I thought Weezing might win charge attack priority. It probably doesn't, but y'all can let me know. But the opponent now comes in with a Sylveon, and because we have the poison subtyping, we are resisting these charms. So I'm going to fire off a Play Rough. It wasn't great timing. I was kind of a little bit between the animation myself, but we can now come in with the Miltank with that HP lead, and hopefully Cobalion will be able to have some solid play in the back. I was very, very concerned when playing this game that it might be double charm, and at that point, my Cobalion would probably not have a great time. So I'm going to go for the Ice Beam in this case, because I want a slightly harder hitting move that might knock out or let me farm down, and it does. The opponent now is going to come in with their Poliwrath, having no energy. The counter generation, energy generation is less this season, meaning that they're not getting to a move, and they have a Mandibuzz in the back. Cobalion would have made, the whole team honestly beats the ever-loving heck out of Mandibuzz. So that's going to be the final battle. We pick up another 4-1 set. Nice 8-2 run with this team, so I can at least recommend it to say that it does well into the current meta, as long as you can kind of like, you know, try to find those times where switch advantage is necessary, or being able to figure out when it's okay to pivot out. Typically, as long as you're not in a situation where you need to have switch advantage or alignment, like Weezing into a dragon, for example, that would be really nice to have alignment for. As long as things are neutral, you're usually okay with making a pivot, but it's usually not something you want to do every game, especially when alignment is on the table. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Ultra League pick is so far this season. I think I have a really strong contender in Weezing because it's really overperforming for me right now, and I like it a lot. So thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.